Next Sunday is Ric Flair's latest last match. Unlike the last match that he had, this is really going to be his last match. For real this time. It's being promoted as part of a full card by Flair's son-in-law, Conrad Thompson, as part of his latest Starrcast event, and it is being promoted under the banner of Jim Crockett Promotions, with David Crockett playing the role of promoter for one night only. Up until this past week, they had not even announced who Flair's opponent or opponents were going to be. They have put together a full card. It actually looks pretty good. But the one match that we did not know is the one match this entire pay-per-view is based around. They reached out to Ricky Steamboat to try to get him involved. They weren't able to come to an agreement. There were rumors that maybe the match would involve Flair teaming up with FTR. Putting Flair in a tag team match is the best possible scenario. And it's not FTR, but that is exactly what they are doing. It is going to be Ric Flair teaming with his son-in-law, his new son-in-law, Andrade El Idolo, to take on the team of Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal. So Jarrett has got a busy weekend coming up. He's going to be at SummerSlam on Saturday as the guest referee for the Usos and the Street Profits match. And then 24 hours later, he'll be in the main event in Ric Flair's final match. So we have a WWE executive teaming with an AEW star with another AEW/Ring of Honor name on the other side. Jarrett's deal, obviously, with WWE is not a talent deal, so he is free to work indies if he wants to. And he can keep doing his podcast as well. He's got the Bruce Pritchard deal. Let's hope Bruce doesn't decide to start doing indies. Andrade, he's been out of the ring with inflammation in his ankles, but he should be good to go next weekend. He'll have to be, because Flair should not be the one carrying the load in this match. Flair himself is coming into the match injured. What a surprise. The 73-year-old is already injured coming into this match. He's been dealing with plantar fasciitis in his foot, which is a very painful condition. It's an inflammation of the tissue that runs across the bottom of your foot, and it connects to the heel bone, or it connects the heel bone to the toes. So it can cause pain while you're walking. He told Busted Open Radio that he'll just deaden the area on his foot if he has to. He is not missing this match. But he said it affects him every day, and it's been hard running the ropes. He also said that Charlotte will be in attendance, but he is not sure whether or not she'll be on camera or not. The video series that they shot to promote this match has actually been very well produced. They shot an angle where Jay Lethal confronted Flair in the parking lot after they had a big press conference to make the announcement about the event. So Flair is leaving the venue. He's going to his car. And he's got David Crockett with him, and Jay Lethal confronts him when he gets to his car about not being booked for the show. This is like Flair's Beyond the Mat, and Jay Lethal is his Dennis Stamp. I'm not booked. I'm not booked, Rick. I'm not booked. I want to be booked. And Flair, at one point, flat out said that he wasn't a big enough name to be on the show. That he was just an opening match guy, like a prelim guy, which is a hell of a fucking thing to say to a former Ring of Honor world champion. Lethal has been the one training with Flair to get him ready for the match, so the fact that Flair didn't book him and then made those comments about him, that's what, in the storyline, that's what turned Lethal against him. This has been building up for a few weeks, so he finally snapped. Jay Lethal finally snapped. He attacked Flair in the parking lot. Jeff Jarrett comes out, and he races over to pull Lethal off of him. And Flair, who was laying on the ground in pain, he looks up and he starts cussing Jarrett and telling him to fuck off. And I'm tired of you and your old man. So Jarrett slaps the shit out of him. I would have done the same thing. He slaps the shit out of him, and then he starts pounding away on Flair. Now he's being double-teamed by both these guys. So Karen Jarrett is there. Karen's going to be in their corner next weekend. Jarrett grabs his wife's shoe and starts hitting Flair in the head. He opens Flair up. Flair did a blade job in the parking lot. There was so much blood, it looked like he was involved in a hit and run. Karen was wearing this white outfit, and she had Flair's blood splattered all over it. If Karen is going to be there and get involved, it would make sense that Charlotte would do a run-in to, fend her off. But that depends on whether WWE would allow it. With Vince gone now, anything's possible as far as what they would allow on some of these independent shows. But it's a weird thing to watch because Flair was a complete dick to Jay Lethal. Flair came off horribly in the way that he treated him. Even Jarrett was only trying to help, and Flair's cussing him out until Jeff finally snapped. Flair came across as the heel in this. The other two beat up a senior citizen and made him bleed all over the place. But the fucker had it coming. Now, I know Flair loves playing the heel, but he ain't going to be the heel in his final match, no matter how hard he may try. Now, they filmed a contract signing as part of the final video that's going to drop this week. So they've done as good of a job as you could expect trying to build an actual story around this. Even the way the angle was shot, it was shot better than most WWE angles are today. It looked, at least a little bit more realistic than what you would see on Raw or SmackDown. But at the end of the day, this is still a 73-year-old man with a pacemaker in his chest who almost died a few years ago. Among all of the other health issues that he has had. But it's the heart stuff and his age that makes it insane that he is stepping back into the ring. I've watched the training footage with him and Lethal. He's been taking bumps. He's taken his trademark slam off the top rope. He's vowing to do a crossbody off the top rope in the match. With enough smoke and mirrors, they could pull this off because it's not so much about the bumps and the moves as much as it's the emotion that they can get out of the people. And these people are there to see one thing and one thing only. They want to see the Nature Boy. They want to see Ric Flair in the ring one last time doing some of his signature spots and slapping a figure four on somebody. So it's like Hogan. Hogan never had to do much to get a reaction. All he had to do was sell. And Hogan was one of the best when it came to selling. You're going to make a list of who are the greatest sellers in wrestling. Hulk Hogan should be on that list. Hulk Hogan should be in the top 5. He would sell and sell and sell, and then he would make a hot comeback. All Flair has to do here is let Andrade do most of the physical stuff, tag in, do some of his trademark spots. Then he could go down and he could sell for a few minutes. I mean, he could bleed, because he's going to fucking bleed. And then make a comeback and give the people a figure four. Maybe we get stereo figure fours from him and Andrade for the finish. He says now he's not doing this for the money. This is not about the money this time. This is Ric Flair we're talking about here. It's always about the money. You think this guy's going to work for free? But I'm sure part of it also is trying to prove, after all that he went through, that he can still do this. He can still pull this off. It's an ego thing. And it's really too bad that he squandered and ruined what was one of the greatest wrestling retirements of all time. In 2008, when he got to handpick Shawn Michaels as his final opponent at WrestleMania. And then he got that great send-off on Raw the next night with all of his friends and former dance partners, all the legends coming out to pay tribute to him. Even Vince McMahon came down to the ring and gave him a huge hug and raised his arm. This is the kind of thing that most people don't get to enjoy because they're usually dead. You die, people say nice things about you at the funeral. They get a big celebration after the fact. He got to be in the ring and enjoy it. They even put him in the Hall of Fame that weekend. It was the greatest weekend of this man's life. And then he went to TNA. Why? Because he needed the money. But also, he never wanted to retire. He was forced into it. He didn't want to give this up. But mostly it was the money. And he went to TNA, and so much for that being this great wrestling send-off. Now here we are 10 years later. He is 10 years older. Actually, over 10 years. Since the last time he stepped into the ring on Impact for a match with Sting. It was to actually build to a pay-per-view match between Sting and Hogan. So they did Flair and Sting as the setup on television. That was in 2011 on Impact. That was the last time we saw Rick in the ring. It is scary to think about what could happen. But he is in there with two pros. They'll protect him as best they can. They'll take care of him, and we'll see what happens. But it's still a shame that he squandered as perfect a send-off as anybody could ask for. Here's the full lineup of the pay-per-view. I am going to be going live on YouTube with a review of the show. I'll remind you guys next Sunday when it's over that night. So whatever happens in the main event, good, bad, or ugly, I will be recapping the show. We have Flair and Andrade in the main event against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Impact World Champion Josh Alexander defends against Jacob Fatu. Impact Knockouts Champion Jordan Grace defends against Deonna Purrazzo and Rachel Ellering. We've got Ricky and Kerry Morton, father and son, with Robert Gibson in their corner taking on Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson, who will have Arn Anderson in his. Rey Fenix, Laredo Kid, Taurus, and Bandito in a four-way. The Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards take on the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. We've got Killer Cross going one-on-one with Davey Boy Smith Jr. Ren Narita was supposed to step in the ring with Clark Connors. Connors is hurt. He is replaced by Yuya Uemura. And there will be a match with the Von Erich boys, Marshall and Ross Von Erich from MLW, taking on the Briscoes, who I just talked about, Jay and Mark Briscoe. And Conrad has put together a Bunkhouse Battle Royal. And I don't have all the names, but some of the names are Bully Ray. Old Bully the Clown is going to be in the Bunkhouse Battle Royal. James Storm, Crimson, Crowbar. I think Wolfie D is actually in this thing. And more names to be announced. So that is the card. They're also going to have commentators from different promotions sitting in on certain matches to do the announcing. So Ian Riccaboni is going to call some of the matches. Tom Hannafin, who is with Impact now, the former Tom Phillips from WWE, he'll be calling the Impact World title and Knockouts title matches. Scott D'Amore of Impact is going to be calling the Wolves against the Machine Guns. Dave Prazak is going to be on the call for the Bunkhouse Battle Royal. So we'll get to hear lots of different voices on the show. But I think on the whole, when you look at how this card has been put together, I think Conrad has done a hell of a job putting this entire thing together from top to bottom.